Ouch, that hurts. Suddenly, a girl walking in front of him slipped and fell. Are you okay? While on my break, heading to get a convenience store lunch, I quickly approached her to offer help. It looks like I twisted my ankle. Ouch. Oh no, what should I do? I won't make it to my exam. She spoke in a panicked tone. Her words caught my attention, and I asked her to clarify. An exam? What happened? Well, it seemed she was startled, being approached by a stranger out of the blue. She distances herself from me a little bit. I continued to speak to her gently. I'm not a creep. Maybe you're in some kind of trouble. If you tell me what's going on, perhaps I can help. Then, with a look of distress, she replied, Actually, I got the train schedule mixed up for my college entrance exam. At this rate, I'm going to miss it. I see what's the problem now. I'm a taxi driver. You know the location of that venue, right? A taxi driver. Her eyes sparkled for a moment, but then she looked down with a gloomy face again. But I'm not sure if I have enough money. Don't worry about it. If you're short, I'll cover it for now. Really? Are you sure? I returned her surprise with a smile. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Got it. Let's hurry to the venue then. After that, I rushed her to the university exam venue at full speed in my taxi. She was frantically reviewing her notes, all absorbed in her preparations. Luckily, the roads were clear that day, and we were able to get to the venue smoothly without getting stuck at any traffic lights. Thank you, really, thank you so much. Just go. Hurry up and get to the venue. Yes, thank you. She kept bowing to me as she made her way to the venue. I watched her until she was out of sight. Then, a few years later, on a certain day, while I was driving with a customer on board, I could hear some chatter coming from the back seat. What's wrong with the matchmaking partner I picked for her? He's a member of the same business owners gathering as I am. There's nothing to complain about him financially. He's got a good character, and I want to see my grandkids soon. It's sad to think I might not see my daughter's kids. She'd prefer someone with a more down-to-earth job. I don't know what to do with that. He sighed as he spoke. I nodded along, listening to his words. This man, Mr. Smith, often used our taxi service and was a regular customer. He always calls his daughter when he's in the taxi, but it seems she's not interested in relationships or marriage, even at her age. I think it's fine to stay single nowadays, and if she's not interested, she shouldn't be pushed into marriage. As a parent, I think it's better for my daughter to get married sooner rather than later. You know, raising kids takes energy, and it seems she doesn't have a boyfriend to speak of, which worries me. She doesn't even know about dating, but she doesn't like the sound of arranged dates with other business owners, either. Now she says she wants someone with a down-to-earth job, not a CEO or anything. It's a bit of a wishful thinking. Yeah, I hear you. Thinking to myself that being a father is tough, I kept listening. Then Mr. Smith dropped a bombshell. That's right, you're single, aren't you? How about you meet my daughter for a matchmaking date? What do you mean? Well, she needs to get used to these situations, doesn't she? It's just a bit of practice. How about it? Will you join me? Just go on 2 or 3 dates, that's all I ask. Before that, I'll get turned down. I said with a laugh, and in response, Mr. Smith got out of the car saying, I'll contact you again then. After that, somehow, I ended up agreeing to practice for an arranged date practice with Mr. Smith's daughter. When he told her about an arranged date with a taxi driver, she seemed more positive than usual and insisted on meeting, even if just once, so he pushed the conversation forward. Well, seriously, Mr. Smith is an important client. I thought I had to do as he said, and the day arrived. Before the arranged date, I secretly met with Mr. Smith to discuss the details. You know, when I told my daughter, she started saying she's more interested in a taxi driver than a CEO. Why is that? I asked, puzzled, and Mr. Smith started to explain. Well, It turns out she fell in love at first sight with a guy before she entered college. She doesn't know his name. It was a kind taxi driver who helped her get to her entrance exam venue when she took the wrong train. She lost his business card and even forgot to note down the taxi company's name. Such a klutz. What? I exclaimed loudly in response to Mr. Smith's words. Huh? Something wrong? No. It just feels like something similar happened a few years back. Oh really? How many years ago was that? It's been about 6 years now. That's around the time my daughter started college. Cut it be. You're the one. The one. You're my daughter's destiny. What? I couldn't help but express my surprise at Mr. Smith's remark. Wait a minute. People often say it's a small world, but could such a story be true? That a girl I once drove in my taxi years ago would turn out to be the daughter of a client. That doesn't normally happen. It's fate. This is fate. I'm not quite following the story here. Please, I'm asking you to take today's arranged date with my daughter seriously. But Mr. Smith, let's calm down. Are you sure your daughter is the same girl I drove? We need to confirm that first. That's right. Let's go confirm it right now. Okay, I'll go. Just please don't pull on my clothes. I cautioned the excited Mr. Smith as we headed to the upscale restaurant for the arranged date. I'm begging you, it's a request for life. Otherwise, I may never see my grandchildren. Okay, just calm down. Well, right. And so, I waited at the restaurant for her to arrive. Mr. Smith parted ways with me as if nothing had happened and headed towards the lobby where he was meeting his daughter. Nice to meet you. Oh, we looked at each other, and immediately, memories of the past came flooding back. No way, you're the taxi driver from back then. You're the girl from that time. Sure enough, Mr. Smith's hunch was right. His daughter was indeed the girl I had given a cab ride years ago. Who would have thought we'd meet again after so many years? It's quite a surprise. We continued our excited conversation in a private dining room of a high-end restaurant. Oh, by the way, did you do okay on your entrance exam that day? Yes, I passed successfully and graduated the year before last. I really had a wonderful 4 years. That's great to hear. Who I am today is all thanks to you, the driver. If you hadn't driven me that day, I wouldn't have been able to attend that university. I don't know how to thank you. I wanted to contact you right after that day and looked for your business card, but I must have dropped it somewhere and couldn't find it. I didn't even know the name of your company, so I couldn't express my gratitude, and for that, I'm really sorry. She bowed deeply. It was nothing big, really. Come on, lift your head. I'm just glad you made it to your exam on time. I had always wondered about that day, so hearing this from her made me genuinely happy. Mr. Smith was listening to our exchange, nodding emphatically and saying, I knew it. While glancing at her father, she whispered to me, did you by any chance get hit with the please take care of my daughter spiel? Well, as I scratched my head in embarrassment, she bowed deeply again. I'm truly sorry. I had to do it, otherwise, when would you ever find a husband? Mr. Smith said with a pointed look. Listen, Dad, I'm still in my 20s. I want to focus on my career a little longer. But I did bring someone you like. Look, we just met briefly years ago. Sure, I always said that if I were to marry, I'd want someone who can act kindly on the spur of the moment, like the taxi driver from that time. But if we were actually to date, that's a different story, isn't it? We both need time to prepare ourselves emotionally. So, how about you give it a trial period and start dating now? What the heck, now? With a sigh, she buried her face in her hands. Mr. Smith, it seems like Madison still wants to focus on her career, and I'm not exactly swimming in cash right now either. I'm also questioning whether I'm really in the same league as a CEO's daughter like Madison. After I said that, Mr. Smith replied, these days, it's not easy to have a good time in any job nowadays. Running a company is especially challenging. Anyway, you two had a fateful meeting, so it's all right to date each other, right? After all, both of you had quite the memorable introduction. Looking at Mr. Smith's carefree attitude, I couldn't help but feel a bit exasperated. I don't mind if Madison isn't against the idea. Really, you're okay with someone like me. If you're not into it, that's totally fine. No, it's not that I'm not into it. Well then, if it's okay with you, would you like to start dating? Yes, I would. Yes. Now I'll get to see my first grandchild. I had agreed to proceed with the relationship as planned in our meeting. But man, who would have thought that I'd end up dating the girl I saved 6 years ago? And all because of her father's assertive matchmaking. Man, today was a good day, wasn't it? Mr. Smith was in high spirits during the dinner, and the drinks were flowing. Anyway, our next day off is definitely a date, huh? Yes, sure. With a smile, Mr. Smith seemed very pleased, while I was slightly taken aback responding to him, and Madison just gave a wry smile. Thanks to Mr. Smith's assertive suggestion, we quickly arranged our schedules and decided to meet up again soon. I'm really sorry for the trouble my dad caused the other day. No, I should apologize for not being considerate enough. As soon as we met up at the cafe, we were both apologizing to each other. So, about this conversation, I get it. Even after that, being told to just start dating out of the blue. At that time, I was swept up by Mr. Smith's momentum, but I didn't think it was possible to start a relationship with a woman in such a forceful way. That's what I believed, but her response took me by surprise. No, if you're okay with it, why don't we really start dating? Excuse me, I told my father, but it's true that I've been thinking about you ever since that day. After all, I want the person I marry to be someone who can help me in times of need. I was at a loss for words to her statement. I'm already well past my mid-30s. I felt that there was a bit of an age gap. I certainly didn't think there were young women in their 20s who would want to date me. But then, if you don't mind me, I would like to date you. Just, if we get married or have children, I want to continue working. So unless you can accept that, I can't consider a relationship with marriage in mind. Oh, that's no problem at all. I smiled at her words. In the past, there may have been a time when it was assumed women would just stay at home, but these days there are few husbands who would say such a thing. It's important that we support each other in life. I have no intention of taking away what's important to you. With that, she smiled brightly. My dad has been saying he wants you to eventually take over the company. If you're willing, would you consider coming to my dad's company? I won't say anymore that I'm not up for the CEO's job. Actually, I've been working as an administrative assistant at my dad's company. She was quickly moving the conversation forward. No, let's slow down a bit on that, I responded, my mind reeling. It seems Madison, Mr. Smith's daughter, is as eager as he is. Right, I'm getting ahead of myself again. I always do this. Let's just enjoy our day today. I didn't have any more room in my head to think. Just being with such a charming young lady was overwhelming enough. Who would have thought, in my mid-30s, I'd have such a fateful encounter that could pretty much decide my future? And with a girl I met by chance 6 years ago. Shall we go then? Yes, let's. At that moment, I took her soft hand, glanced at her profile, and felt a spark. With her, I felt like we could enjoy our days together. After today's date, I decided to officially ask her out. That's what I resolved.